Hello friends, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel and a Euro preview focusing on Portugal, who have got a once-in-a-generation squad on their hands. Can they harness the individuals that they've got? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. This is part of a series of Euro previews, so if you haven't checked them out, make sure you check out the Italy one. We're talking about them being a surprise package and the problems with Germany at the moment as Joachim Löw goes into his final tournament as the manager of their national team, Die Mannschaft, in fact. But in this video, we're going to be talking about Portugal. Before we get into the video, do consider subscribing if by the end of the video you feel like you've enjoyed it, and if you have enjoyed it, then please hit the like button as well. We're trying to get 3,000 likes on each of these Euro previews, so make sure you smash that like button. But are Portugal gonna smash this tournament? They've got a difficult job on their hands, but they have a squad that I wonder, you know, if you've got a nation that's got 10 million people and it can have a squad with this many quite possibly world-class players in it, then you've got an incredible chance. The next 10 years are going to go one of two ways for Portugal. Either they will go on to win quite possibly numerous international trophies with the squad that they've got, or they will take the mantle as the greatest underachievers ever to play international football, which of course was owned by Spain, then the Netherlands, then it went to Belgium, who are the current owners of that trophy, and it could be moving its way to Portugal. It's going to go one of two ways, and because this Portugal squad is littered with stars and multiple players that want to play in similar positions. So do you play the best players or do you play the best team? That is the question that Fernando Santos needs to answer. The answer is team. So what can we expect from Portugal based on what we know at the moment? Well, there was some World Cup qualifiers recently, 3 games in a week, which is an interesting little kind of group of games to look at how a team would do in a tournament when they have to have 3 games in a week. Now, the results were fine, 2 wins and a draw. It was the performances that were a bit more revealing. There was a 1-0 win against Azerbaijan. They then went away to Serbia and drew 2-2, and then they beat Luxembourg away from home 3-1. But during these games, the only real decent showing was the first half of the Serbia match and the second half of the Luxembourg game. And despite playing relatively well in the Azerbaijan game, they failed to score from 28 shots. 14 of those were on target, and they only won the game due to an own goal. Now, with those 3 games, of course, there'll be moments of experimentation, which is understandable with personnel and formations. But generally, it was either a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 formation. What's far more important, especially when you've got 3 games in 6 days, is who's playing all 3 games. There were only actually 3 players who played in every single game. Those 3 players were João Cancelo, Bernardo Silva and Cristiano Ronaldo. And what that says to me, that these are 3 players that Santos feels he can trust and 3 players that will play every single minute of Euro 2020. A possible surprise out of those 3 was Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva actually played in midfield for that final game and looked a lot better than he did when he was a little bit further up the pitch. And the reason for that in terms of his output was the fact that you've got Ronaldo up front. And when you've got Ronaldo up front, you need to get the ball wide, you need to get crosses into the box because that's where Ronaldo thrives. Bernardo Silva's playing style doesn't really suit that kind of out-and-out winger who's getting crosses in, and that's shown through the stats. And the role that he will play will not be that same role, which is kind of surprising for someone who's so prominent in a team that has Cristiano Ronaldo. He's only averaging 0.3 successful crosses per 90 during the World Cup qualifiers. However, he was still averaging 2 key passes per 90, which is a bit more utilisable for a player who's playing in central areas as opposed to someone who's playing out wide. He's also averaging 37 successful passes per 90 in the opposition half, which again is far more suited to someone playing in a central role. The only problem with that is that that's where Bruno Fernandes wants to play. More on that later, but let's focus on that player who could be that right winger. And again, with a squad with so much talent, you've got to find the best team instead of just chucking as many big names as possible on a team sheet. And that's where Pedro Neto comes in. He's had a very good season for Wolves, but Wolves themselves have kind of gone under the radar, as does Pedro Neto. But in terms of the players that Portugal have, he suits them down to the ground. over the 2 World Cup qualifying matches, Pedro Neto was really, really impressive. 5 successful crosses per 90 is exactly what you want to see from this Portugal side when you've got Ronaldo in the team. And he was also averaging 3 key passes per 90. So for someone who's playing as a bit more of an out-and-out winger, 3 key passes is really, really impressive. Add to that the fact that he played on the left or the right-hand side, and you've got a player that suits this team. Can Santos deal with the egos? You've got a whole squad littered with players who are used to being the main man of their team. So if you play Pedro Neto and Bernardo Silva and Ronaldo, will Bruno Fernandes be able to find a place in this team? It sounds ridiculous, but it might be a decision that has to be made, because there's another great player, a Raumdeuter in fact, in Diogo Jota, who will also want to be involved in this team and this starting lineup. Diogo Jota has an integral part to play in the attacking fluency of Portugal because he's a Raumdeuter. Now, a Raumdeuter is a German phrase for a space interpreter or a space investigator. And when you think of that kind of player, a Raumdeuter, you think of Thomas Müller. But Diogo Jota is kind of being slept on in terms of his ability to play that role. And for Portugal, where you've got to have a lot of players who want to get the ball, he needs to be very intelligent in his use of space to stay out the way a lot of the time, but also utilise the pace and the drive that he has. A great example of this comes from the brace that he scored against Serbia. 2 goals from 2 shots, only 41 touches. On the other side, you had Bernardo Silva with 68 touches, 0 completed crosses, 0 key passes, 1 successful dribble. These stats don't look great, but the point is that he's kind of staying out the way, trying to stay in the space, trying to stretch the pitch a little bit for the team. And with that comes him getting in good areas of space to allow himself to have the most ultimate output, the most important stat: goals and assists. We can't have a Portugal preview without talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. The sad thing is that I've kind of got some bad news to offer up. Now, I will not disrespect Cristiano Ronaldo. We know he's elite. We know he's still an unbelievable goal scorer. But his World Cup qualifiers numbers suggest that something is kind of amiss at the moment. Maybe it's just a sense of understanding what the starting 11 is and how they're going to play, so he can then understand where he needs to be. But when you look at his stats from the World Cup qualifiers, 270 minutes played, just the 1 goal, a conversion rate of 5%. Of course, we know Ronaldo loves to have a shot, but when you're only scoring 1 goal, your conversion rate is going to be pretty low. 1 big chance created, 4 big chances missed, and 6.7 shots per game. As I said, he loves to have a shot. The spin on this is that, look, he's a big game player. Let's not worry about Cristiano Ronaldo. But the interesting thing is, again, where does he start? Does he play through the middle? Or in one of the games, he played on the left-hand side to accommodate Andre Silva. Maybe with these World Cup qualifiers, there's an element of motivation and struggling with that, and a focus on the league with Juventus struggling themselves and being very reliant on Ronaldo. No doubt he will step up. And actually, the group of death, with the focus that will be on him to step up, there is no doubt that he will be motivated to make a point in those games. Onto that man, Bruno Fernandes. And the first question that you've got to ask yourself is, can Bruno handle not being the best player in a team? For 4 or 5 seasons now, and it's not his fault, but he has been the focal point of any team that he's played, be it Sporting Lisbon or Manchester United. Without that licence, will he still be able to kind of offer as much up to the team and get the goals and assists that he's been able to get at Manchester United and Sporting Lisbon? Well, if we go from the World Cup qualifiers, the answer is currently no. Bruno is averaging 3 shots per game, 2.5 of those have been on target, but he's yet to score a goal. And when it comes to key passes, 2 key passes per 90. Now, a key pass is a pass that results in the receiver being able to shoot. What's strange with that is that on many of those key passes, he hasn't got a single assist, which is a little bit odd. Has he been that creative spark? No, he hasn't. There is a big call to be made here in terms of starting games. I think Bernardo Silva might be a better option for this Portugal team. And the reason I say that is because he offers maybe a little bit more work rate, and in terms of progressive carries, beating a man and taking a man out of the game, I think that could be something that could be quite important for Portugal and Cristiano Ronaldo. Once again, his movement is fantastic, Cristiano Ronaldo. And so if you're trying to find him, if you're able to take a player out of the game and it not be about breaking 2 lines of defence with those passes, that's something that maybe Bernardo Silva can do a touch better than Bruno Fernandes. So I'm pretty sure you're all screaming at me right now going, why can't you play Bruno Fernandes and Bernardo Silva? Of course you can, but if you're trying to get the best out of this Portugal side, then maybe you need to try something different. Have a look at this. This is the game against Serbia away, and here are the average positions. Now this is a game where Silva and Fernandes played together, Jota played in that Raumdeuter role, Ronaldo playing up top, but there was no Pedro Neto, and with that you lost that element of width. The back four looks nice and solid there, you can understand where they're playing, and then after that it is a little bit of a mess in that midfield area with Bruno Fernandes and Bernardo Silva both wanting to pick up the ball in the same areas. The problem with that when you're so far away from goal is the fact that it's easier to defend against. If you take number 8 or number 10 out of those average positions and put on someone like Pedro Neto who's going to stay wide, that just opens up a lot more for the one player that remains, Silva or Bruno Fernandes, and it also allows another bow to how Portugal can attack, both utilising the width, creating space, but also creating that space to be a little bit more direct, be it from crosses or from through balls. The big takeaway here is the fact that this is one hell of a Portugal squad, a team that has to be one of the favourites to go all the way and win this competition. Yes, they need to get out of that group of death, but with the energy that they've got, they are twice the squad and the team that they were in 2016 when they won the trophy. The over-reliance on Ronaldo during that competition won't be the same on this occasion. In fact, it's the complete opposite. And at the end of the day, with all these fantastic individuals in this squad, the most important person is Fernando Santos. He's been the manager since 2014. He's won trophies. He's loved by the squad and by the nation, no doubt. But he needs to pick the best team. He needs to establish the best team, not the best individuals. And if he does that, this team is pretty frightening for me. My prediction for this one, I see Portugal going to the very least the semi-finals, possibly playing in the final as well. I really am excited by this squad. I think they're going to go pretty deep this time. Let me know what you think, guys. Who's the key man for Portugal? Where are the weaknesses in this team as well? Let me know down below. And of course, predict what you think will happen to the defending champions in Euro 2020. If you've enjoyed this video, please do hit the subscribe button and the like button. Thanks for joining me. Check out the other previews and get yourself ready for the next ones. I'll see you next time.